Hey everyone, I am the darling. This is Clarity by V, and today we're going to be talking about the new moon, the full moon in Leo. I am just going to preface this with I am in a weird state emotionally. I'm going to be honest. I really am. This energy is super contentious. This full moon is strikingly powerful. And it's because we are going back and experiencing so much from the Leo new moon that we had 6 months ago in Leo season. It's so incredible how these placements just really coincide with one another. And it's like, well, duh, that makes absolute and complete sense. But it's just astounding to me how much synchronicity there is, because this is exactly why I encourage you to go back and to keep a journal, keep a book of shadows, keep a log of what you interact with, what you experience, what you're going through. I love the idea of a captain's log, because you are navigating your ship, or at least you are the captain of your ship, your vessel. You are the captain, and a good captain knows how to navigate the elements, which is to say, there's, even as you are the captain, there's still that whole entire sea out there, the weather, all of the elements, all of them that you don't have control of. And the best that you can do is know how to captain your vessel as best as you can, get intimate with your vessel as best as you can, know how to navigate the seas, know how to read the stars, and that's something that the people who established Hawaii, that's something that they knew deeply. Those ancient indigenous people who went to that island, and that's part of their stories, that they went there. They didn't just they were not naturally from there. They went there over the water. They sailed there. That's something that you can see in Moana as well, actually. But so, yeah, that being said, the other thing is knowing your crew, and having a really good crew to help you navigate this thing called life. And knowing your crew, and knowing how to be the best captain, and knowing how to be a part of a team. You got some mutineers in your crew, or do you have people that you can trust? Do you have someone who taught you well how to navigate? Or are you just going on self-will? And we don't have to do that anymore. It's not back those thousands of years ago when people were just discovering sea travel and that sort of thing. And it's a new age. It's the age of Aquarius. And this is a powerful moment in where we're being asked to check in. But so I didn't digress, actually. What I'm saying has so much to do with the energy that we're working with here. Not for nothing. We also have Mercury retrograde later this week on Saturday, which is the 30th. And the thing about that is, It's actually going to be really helpful because starting from tomorrow, and honestly, we can even look at the chart for today, like the chart for right now. But I pulled some cards earlier this week. Y'all know I'm not on social media right now, so I pulled some cards earlier this week, and I got the Sun in reverse and the Devil card. I got the Devil before I got the Sun in reverse, but the Sun in reverse, especially, it has to do with like blockages and not seeing forest for the trees, not seeing the, like, I think about it this way, like the sun it might be cloudy on a certain day, like it's really cloudy and a bit dismal outside today, but when it's like cloudy and rainy and it's overcast and stuff like that, one thing that I've noticed is like the greens of the foliage and of the natural fauna, or flora rather, sorry, just stands out so much more vibrantly against the gray. And I can be grateful for that because, that's when I see it most beautifully. So yeah, I'm getting distracted because I'm gonna just take a second to ground down, really ground into this reading. Goddess, align me with your integrity. I open myself to receiving your protection, your care, your guidance, your wisdom. I open myself to receiving the protection, care, guidance, and wisdom of my higher powers, my angels, my guides. I open myself to receiving your guidance, wisdom, love, and care. Keep out any malevolencies, any maladaptive energy, any heaviness, any distractions that seek to keep me from delivering your message. Cast them out. I ground down now into you. I stabilize in your earth center, Mother. I ground down into you and stand in the pillar of light and open myself to receiving the abundant blessing of the Father. Light, the wisdom, the care. I ground into you. Thank you, Ashe. Okay, so that's the energy that we came into this week with. It's super heavy, it's super contentious, and right now we actually do, I'm gonna share my screen with y'all. Right now we actually do have a positive aspect going on here between the moon and Mercury, which has a lot to do with the fact that like there's so much information coming in, so much awareness and insight that is like coming in right now, that's super helpful and powerful in regards to mental clarification, that is going to help spur us in the direction of how we need to go. And the thing about air signs is with Mercury being in Aquarius, this is very, very cerebral. But the thing about that is when it has to do with like thoughts and systems of operation, that also has to do with the way of life, like behavior. It's not so, it is air and it is fire. It has a lot to do with both of those things. It has to do with like our reasons for doing the things that we do. what spurs us to action, what encourages us to take steps in the direction that we take steps in. Why do we do the things that we do? And it has to, and that is like some very root chakra stuff, right? The thing of it is, when we are so bogged down in our shadow and we are so sick with shadow because we cannot face the reality of ourselves, we can't interact with it, we can't even, and that has to do with our shadow because our shadow is a part of us. We can't do any shadow work. It keeps us from being able to be in touch with this life that we are living here and now. It keeps us away from the mother. And that is toxic positivity. When we're so focused on these higher up chakras that we're not, and we're so focused on receiving that divine masculine energy, and we only go to the mother in terms of, I want to manifest this, but I hate you. I want this, but fuck you. I'm broken, I'm this, I'm that. When in reality, a lot of the issue lies in our thinking and our programming. And actually, all of the issue lies in that. And yes, there are physical issues. And this makes us hate our bodies, which are what? Related to and direct byproducts of the mother, the matrix, because we are of this earth. And we are of the past lineages that we manifested into. It's rooted in our DNA. Those of us who, all of us are actually impacted globally. We're all, humanity is, all of us are impacted by colonialism and by chattel slavery on the Atlantic. So we all have to deal with that. And our different roles that our ancestors played in that, we're all carrying that ancestral trauma, that karmic debt in our DNA, in our genetics, and that's stuff that we have to deal with in the here and now. So there's a lot of resentment that can happen from against the mother. It's like, why did I have to be born in this body? Why did I have to da, da, da. First of all, I am, in my practice, and this is where we're at, we're in V Darling's kingdom now. We're in V Darling's queendom now, right? Because I'm the cosmic queen. We're in V Darling's domain now. And when we're in my domain, we're going to speak my language. We chose to manifest into these bodies. We chose who our parents would be. And we knew the risks before we came. Does that mean that we knew everything that was going to happen? No, by no means. But for some of us, it was that important to come here now and do this work. So there's a lot of heart healing. There's a lot of mother wound healing that's been going on for the past 6 months. Because what did we have around Leo season? And I want to, like, the Lionsgate portal, you know, that is just an energy that was so prevalent because I did actually, like, I did the, so this is not the chart, as y'all know. I said this was the chart for right now, or the sun entering Aquarius, my bad. I was looking for the chart right now. But anyways, like, this is, this is us, a transformation of how we interact with the world and how we operate, where now we are honoring our intuition and we are honoring our natural patterns, and we are honoring who we are and what we are at our core. That's being transformed here and now. in this Aquarius season, and it's hard, and Aquarius season is painful right now. It's painful. All of our coping mechanisms are being taken away. We're being presented with so much about the ways that we disempower ourselves. About the ways in which we don't show up for ourselves. We abandon ourselves, and we set ourselves up for disappointment by entering into situations that we know are going to disappoint us and allowing the same cycles to play out over and over again. And you can be resentful of the fact that you're being presented with this stuff again, or you can accept that this is an opportunity for you to step into your power and establish your autonomy and agency. There's big heart healing on offer here if you're willing to accept it. And it's not going to happen. We are never, ever going to find fulfillment if we are unable to face the truth and the reality of who and what we are. And that means integrating that shadow. Now, if you want to sit here and you want to lie to people about who you are and what you are, and you want to go around being a shell of a human full of hot air, you're going to continue to suffer like this. And it's going to be unbearable, untenable. But I'll tell you what, even if you're doing all the right stuff now and you're in pain and you're like, why? It's all that other stuff that you are seeing so clearly. The stuff that you did before. It's like, oh, I'm triggered. I want to do this thing. Don't do that thing. Do the thing that you know that you're supposed to do, because you are being revitalized with a new system of being, a new way of being, a new way of living. That's what you are being given. That's what you are being offered right now. Oh yes, Mars, Uranus are making a square this season to Pluto, the Sun, Saturn, and Jupiter, right? And so is the moon. And they're all in the 8th house. We are being transformed in the ways in which we go about doing things, about how we receive things, how we respond, not react, but we respond. Our lives are being changed on the most infinitesimal of levels. That is a drop. That is a raindrop hitting the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and causing a tidal wave in the Pacific. That's what that is. And that's how we got to start thinking about our actions and our choices and our decisions. Yes, it's going to come back to you, because that tidal wave in the Pacific is causing this snowstorm on Mount Victoria in Africa. And that snowstorm impacts the Saharan desert winds that are going to go and cause hurricane season in the Caribbean. And that was because of that one raindrop in the Atlantic Ocean. And that's how our actions play out on a grand scale. What we choose to do and how we choose to act. So when you choose to undermine intimacy in your relationships by perpetuating emotional, spiritual dishonesty, knowing better, and choosing not to do better. That's what we're talking about. That's what we've been talking about. Because that takes you out of that space of self-sovereignty, because you prioritized the power of some other thing over your own. Fear. Whatever fear, wherever it's stemming from, that's what that is. And it's time to start choosing to truly lean into yourself and what we've got going on here. So I want to see the chart for right now. We got some harmonious aspects today, the day before the full moon. Things are ordered. There are not a lot of clusters, which is super interesting, but we have some really aggressive squaring between those same planets, but this is the same little cluster here where it's Dark Moon Lilith, Venus, and Uranus. And they are making a square to, well, actually, yeah, those same planets. It's Jupiter, the Sun, and Saturn in Aquarius. So these new shifts that are coming in and prioritizing a more democratic, more progressive, more spiritually aligned way of life that understands that when I'm good, the collective can be good. But if I'm not okay, I can't help the collective. I can't help anyone if I'm not okay. So I can't put the collective before myself. And by putting myself in the center, I am also centering the collective because I'm part of the collective. I gotta get right within. And oh, isn't that what this new moon is about? I mean, this full moon, I keep calling it a new moon. I don't know why. Isn't that what this is all about? Like, we have these placements here. I'm specifically thinking about these squaring off with these. And it just is like, we can't live this life that we've been living anymore. We're not gonna do it. But now it's going into action. Now we're being called to, okay, you said that you're about this, so do it. Be about it. That's what's being asked of us here. And so, you know, collectively, we're all being challenged to show up for the principles and ethics that we we're all being asked to show up for those principles. We're all being asked to ground down into what we say that we're about. So, meditation, prayer, intention setting, whatever. It really works because I was looking at my journal, my last book of shadows, and I was reading what I wrote for Leo season, and I actually like opened right up to it. I'm just going to share some notes that I picked up in that time. Wisdom means clarity. If I don't have agency over my anger, it has agency over me. These notes are on Woundedness and Rage by La Murad Owens. So wisdom means clarity. If I don't have agency over my anger, it has agency over me. If I don't have agency over my fear, because anger is a response to fear, it's a trauma response. Depression, I heard, and it has changed my life when I heard this over a decade ago. Depression is rage turned inward, and I'll destroy myself by cultivating that rage. For whatever reason, I get looped into that trauma cycle, and I abuse and debase myself. That's what that is. And I have to reclaim my power, step into my sovereignty, and understand that I do have some agency and I can play a role in shifting the narrative, even if it's through baby steps. How many of us have been abused by the expression of power in interpersonal relationships is one of the things that Marad Owen asks in this reading. And one thing that I noted is like passive aggressiveness is just as, if not more dangerous as direct violence because of its insidious abusive nature and its unseen nature. And this is passive aggression is one of the ways that we can be the most violent. And then we play the victim because it's like, well, I didn't hit you or something like that. But gotta just remember that people are sick and suffering, right? Think about the ways in which your own emotional dishonesty and lack of integrity and lack of a backbone and lack of courage have resulted in the situations that you're in right now. And I have to do the same thing too, because I am in situations that I'm seeing why I have been that way and seeing what the results of being that way are. Now I have the choice to continue allowing this stuff to perpetuate or to let it go. You see this right here? They are connected. The Chiron healing, it's a connection right there. The moon is in Cancer, so it's powerful. It'll be in Leo tomorrow for our full moon. It's powerful. We're really feeling it. And that's a bit scary. But when we step into that space, we unlock the potential for the life that we want to live to come to us. We unlock that. And every time I use those words, I think, oh, because Chiron is a key. When we show up for our healing, Chiron, the wounded healer, when we show up for our healing, we reap the benefits, we reap the rewards. Now I want to get into the chart. The full moon, as I said, very contentious. We don't have any harmonious aspects until we get to Mercury retrograde on the 30th, which is Saturday. I just want to go into my notes because I think it'll be helpful. This is really about the disharmonious energy is important because we are divesting from situations, people, places, things. We're divesting from nouns. And you know, in this practice, I call it nouning. We need to name things that we interact with and that we have relationships with: situations, people, places, things, all other nouns, institutions, whatever, ideas, systems, whatever. We need to name those things. And right now we're in a place of like chasms being created, schisms are happening to separate us from things that do not serve us and are part of our old life. So this to me feels like the timelines are splitting. I'm so excited. That makes me so happy because I fucking like the old timeline. I'm so over it. Like, y'all have no clue how over it I am. So the timeline is splitting. We're having a schism from the previous timeline. So it's important to really grasp on here to what you want to bring into this new world. And this is why with the Saturnalia workbook and with the winter solstice and like New Year's and like we're not talking about just any old cycles here. We're talking about a new life, a new world, a new age. And this is what we want to focus on manifesting and bringing into this new age. It's not about your 5-year plan. It's about your life. And for that reason, it is life or death. It is that big of a deal. It is. And you got to treat it as such. Do you care enough? Do you value yourself enough? Are you tired of suffering enough that you are going to step into it and allow yourself to be transformed? Do you care enough about yourself? Chiron in Aries in the 8th house. Do you care enough about yourself to allow the healing to come in? To say, okay, I'm done with that past life. It is a full moon. It is time to renew, remove, clarify the clarity that is on offer because we are illuminated, we are luminescent, and we can see it. Now you embody that light instead of replicating the darkness that has been taken out upon you. You embody that light and you live it in the here and the now, and you allow that transformation to take place by letting go of those old patterns, by letting go of those old situations, those old people, places, and things. They don't matter anymore. You are here now. And what do you need to do? You need to be grateful for those lessons that you learned. Be grateful for the pain that you are experiencing now. That is a message from within to tell you that those times are over. That time is done. You need to be grateful for that. This is Aquarius. It has to do with the collective, and it has to do with the individual and how the individual interacts with the collective, our proximity to the collective. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with right here. And I want to read a precept which says, each of us is but a small part of a great whole. We must continue to live, or most of us will surely die. Hence our common welfare comes first, but individual welfare follows close afterward. Now, I wrote that down because that is what we're talking about here. If you really want to help people, if you really want to be of service, if you really want to show up for your community, you got to get right within. That's number one. That is first things first. It is a fine line and an interesting little dance that we have to dance and that we have to navigate. But when we do it, and we learn how to navigate it, and this goes back to that beginning when I said I'm not digressing, this is very important. Right now, we are getting our sea legs. We are learning how to navigate. We're in a very, we're new to this. This is some knave energy right here. But it's knave. It's not ace energy. Some suits, it might be like the princess, and then the prince and the king, the queen, and the king. The princess energy, the knave energy. That's where we're at right now. But if you show up for your lessons that are specific to you, if you show up for those lessons and are transformed in the light that is on offer here and now, you're stepping ever more into those timelines. And guess what? We don't get another harmonious aspect until Mercury retrograde on the 30th. And then all that light that we've been cultivating starts to get reflected back at us. This has been a dark night of the soul if I've ever seen one. And I have. That's when we learn how to glow the brightest and show up the best. And now, here's what the question is. How are we showing up? I wrote down, because this is something that I wrote down back in Leo season at that new moon in Leo. So what I wrote down is, because it all like really like vibrates with one another. Any lack of balance upsets the whole system. Let me go back. As social animals, it is so important for us to consider who makes up our social circle, because their well-being directly affects ours and vice versa. How healthy is the culture of any given space we hold? That directly impacts our personal health and vice versa. Any lack of balance upsets the whole system, was what I wrote back down in new moon of Leo season. We are being called to review how we hold space and if it's worth it. If it's working, as in, is it draining or depleting us, or is it fulfilling us? How can we best show up as our higher selves for any situation? We must put our money where our mouths are. This is about removing ourselves from entanglements and meshed situations and entrenched ways of being, divesting from those old timelines, departing from them. And it doesn't matter who shows up kicking and screaming, asking for your attention, asking for you to like drain you of your light. Cut it out. Cut it out. Call on Archangel Michael to help you. Do a cord cutting. Call your energy back to you. I call all of my energy back to me. I call all of my energy back to me. I call all of my energy back to me. I am self-sovereign. I am grounded in my integrity. I am grounded in my truth. We call all of our energy back unto ourselves to be integrated, transmuted, transformed in the light of our truth, in the light of the truth of the universe, which is unconditional love. In these spiritual principles and precepts that underlie the foundation of absolutely everything we do. all entities that seek to keep us from realizing our full potential in that truth are cast out and cut off now, wholesale. We are self-possessed in this moment, and we cede our will over to our higher powers, knowing that we can trust where we are being guided. Amen and Ashe. I have so much more that I could say about this. I really do. I think, the moon is in Leo in the 12th house, and it is obviously opposite the sun, Jupiter, and Saturn in Aquarius, and they are both squaring off with Mars, Uranus, and dark moon Lilith in the 9th house, and these ones are all in the 6th house, as y'all can see. This is a very lonely placement. It's about holding space for yourself and going into yourself and having to really get close to you, because you don't need to be alone. There are so many past versions of yourself that you can check in on and that you can hold space for and that you can hold and come together and reintegrate self. This moon in the 12th house. And the fact that it's with Leo, like, my God, that is so powerful. This moon in Leo in the 12th house feels very much like the mask of a scared child afraid to be alone. And so this scared child has to wear this mask and create this facade so that it can attain and access to love and companionship. And so maladaptive primal self says you've got to lie to be able to manifest that. Because when you're in that state, all you have to trust what you know as the physical world. And those spiritual truths that we come into this world knowing, we just let go of and we don't remember because we just can't trust that we feel. And that's because the world is full of abuse and exploitation and oppression. Children are not given rights. They are not treated with respect. And that is something that truly, read the first chapter of All About Love by Bell Hooks. Those who are in most need of protection are not receiving it and are being misguided. And that is a systemic issue. That is a systemic part of the sickness of this system. Now, I pray that you will divest from this system post haste. Do we have the willingness to do what need be done in order to feel real, true connection? Because all of that is fake. And that is why it's not fulfilling. And that is why we feel empty. And that is why we feel alone, even when we are surrounded by droves of people. And we probably feel drained. And we probably feel exhausted because we're so busy carrying around a whole other version of ourselves, abandoning ourselves, disappointing ourselves, never fulfilling ourselves, yet expecting everyone else to be able to do it. But how are they supposed to? You never gave them the opportunity to. Nor do you have enough self-love to be able to channel that for others. Compassion for yourself to be able to channel that for others and have compassion to say, hey, I see that you got this going on and maybe we don't gel. Maybe we are not harmonious entities, and that's okay. I hope that you get what you're looking for. I wish you the best. I love you as a part of my spiritual soul family, my human family, and go off and do what you got to do. I'm wishing you the best. with no rancor or resentment in our hearts. Too many of us are too sick and full of self-loathing to be able to do and say that. This starts in the spirit. Now it's time to stop saving face and start saving your ass, because I'm telling you, if it hurt all the way up to here, it's gonna be unbearable moving forward. And you're going to see everybody else who's actually doing the work, who's actually telling the truth, who's actually showing up for their life, for who they are, showing up for themselves, advancing and finding beauty, peace, prosperity, all of the things that you want at your core. And it's going to break your heart. And you're not going to make it. This fear of change, this fear of love, this fear of success, convincing oneself one's happy or at least satisfied by their lackluster, unfulfilling life because they're so attached to their ego. You gotta let go. It's time to transcend. Humanity as a whole is maturing. And it starts with the spirit. It starts with the consciousness, evolution. And it goes down from spirit to consciousness. Yeah, we're getting closer to spirit, actually, because spirit is eternal. It starts with the consciousness. When you step into spirit, consciousness is changed. Our minds are made more aware. Our emotional selves, that communication between mind, body, spirit, is changed, and then the world around us is changed, and that is happening collectively. If you cannot go along with it, you will be dragged. Don't make it any harder on yourself. Establish a spiritual practice today. Ground down into it. Get real. Why do you think we've all been obsessed with getting close to our ancestors lately? Come on, y'all. It's a real lonely time because you got to go in. Nobody can do this for you. We have this square, as I said, happening here with Mars, Uranus, and Lilith in Taurus in the 9th house. And, you know, we know what we want. And frankly, we want it now. But it's not like, you know, you have to understand that time is temporal. And we are infinite. You have to do the work. And you have to give it the natural time to play out. If you didn't do the work, sorry, it's not happening right now. And also just understand you don't get to control that anyway. Every time we choose fear over our advancement in spiritual truth, we are choosing to abandon and disappoint ourselves, which is the ultimate betrayal, and it is keeping us from being able to trust and love ourselves. Stop doing things that make you not trust yourself. And it takes some time, but eventually you start to realize, like, oh, I'm different. And other people start to see it too. Ground in here what you pursue and create. It must be rooted in your spirit. It must be centered in your principles, your truth. Trust that going against the grain will pay off. The last thing that I want to say is that Lilith and Mars in the 9th feels like a whole new world and a whole new way of life, and it's worth committing to. And that's that Mars and Taurus energy, because Mars and Taurus is gonna get what Mars and Taurus wants. And it's going to be a slow progression, which Mars does not like, but this is going to be long lasting. This is your life. Take advantage of this energy. See the forest despite some of those trees. See the light despite being surrounded by darkness. This has to do with the throat chakra because it's Lilith and Taurus. It comes down to speaking our truth and creating our world. It comes down to creating palaces, not prisons. That goes back to that Saturnalia reading. If you didn't watch it, go ahead and watch it. I am going to make this available to everybody because it's just so important, this information. On my website, you can purchase access to the Saturnalia, Winter Solstice, Club Cosmos, and you can purchase access to the workbook. We're just like really considering how we are silenced and robbed of our power. So it's time to make real tangible changes by actually advocating for ourselves, regardless of outside factors. Do what you can, just as long as you do it. I don't really feel like I need to pick cards. I've said all that need be said. I appreciate you all so much. I love you truly and deeply. I'm looking forward to this content creation that I'm going to start releasing officially for spring equinox. Look forward to a spring equinox Club Cosmos virtual retreat. It's going to be a 3-day retreat, and I'm super excited about it. Yeah. You can look forward to that. More information is forthcoming. Things are about to change for clarity by V. If you aren't subscribed to the Patreon, I suggest that you do, because you can get more full-length videos like this for all of the different aspects that go on. If you subscribe to the different tiers that exist. If not, it's a community. I post so much more content on there and stuff like that. But if not, thank you for following anyway. Thank you for participating. I love you all truly and deeply. Now, I have to go to the bathroom, so I have to go. Okay, there we go. Stop share. Peace, loves.